what is he, a realtor at a real estate company. I'll talk to the manager slash associate vice president of the bank. I'll talk to department heads in the city. I'll talk to the city manager, and I'll talk to them all the same. And if I've met several people here, I talked to you tonight the same way that I talk to any of those, whether they're a homeless person or the city manager. I think that's why I'm going to be the best. That's what will make me the most effective on the council, is just being able to be conversant with anyone. Thank you.
All right, very good. You hit your limit. No, you're fine. Yeah, hang on to it. Okay, we've heard a lot of talk about business issues, permitting, economic development, all of that. Are those the most serious issues facing the city of Benson? If not, why not? What are they?
Yes.
They are. Tell us why.
I have to go on? Okay.
Yes, please.
I think part of it is that Benson has just kind of been sitting here for a long time, like we've been wandering in the desert for 40 years. It grows about 100 people a year. As an economy, it seems like it's just sort of hanging around. I would like to see a much more vibrant economy develop, a clean one. Light industry would be part of that, but I strongly think that turning Benson into a tourist destination would be a very good thing to do. It'd bring a lot of people in. We already have 1,800 RV sites in the area, 1,100 in Benson. With the surrounding area, it's 1,800. Those people are in and out all the time. They can tell other friends. It's a lot of public relations and marketing that can go into that without very little cost. We just develop activities for that. I've done a little work on that. One of the things I found interesting was I've heard Benson referred to as a gateway to tourism. To me, gateway is a cattle guard you drive over on the way to something else. So I think you want to be a destination, a place to arrive to. I looked at the attractions for Tucson, or for Arizona, and you would expect the Grand Canyon is the biggest at 4.3, but the ones that are also big in Arizona are the ones that the cities made themselves. Tombstone themselves, 500,000 people, yet we only have, what, 10,000 people stop by our tourist office once a year. And that's driving through on the way to Tombstone. We should be able to peel off a lot more people than that, develop attractions in the area. Look at Branson. Branson's 6,500 people. That's only 2,000 more than here. They have something like 7.5 million visitors a year. That's a lot of money that's left behind. That solves a lot of your problems. You get more police, you have more activities for the local people and people to work, and I see I'm out of time.
Okay, very good. Let's pass it down to your right. David, what about you? Permitting process, too cumbersome? If it is, how would you fix it? Can it be improved?
Well, there's lots of improvements to do to any type of a permit situation. Right now, the permit process is whenever you go into the building development office, they give you a checklist of what you have to do. And this checklist normally goes in order. It's like a flow chart. This way you have to do this, then do this, then do this. It's very easy to do. A lot of people don't want to do it. A lot of people want to come to Benson and bring their business here and get a free ride. And that's not what we're trying to establish. We're trying to make sure that our codes are in line with all of the state and federal government, and then we can adjust them at that point. So it's not a free ride. We have to have codes in place. The last time our codes were updated was in the 80s. And so they were piece to piece and hodgepodge together. So right now we're trying to get everything updated. That's one of the things the council decided to do a few years ago, was to redo the city code. And we're up to the building department code right now. They're trying diligently to get a code put in place that agrees with all of the other mandates that we have to do. So there is probably an easier way to do permits. It's just our city does them one way, and then Tucson may do them differently. Everybody does them differently. So it's a work in progress.
Okay, very good. Let's pass the mic down here to Tony. Tony, In one of the earlier questions, you talked about perception versus reality. Is the perception that the council appears to work more for the administration than the citizens valid? And that perception is out there. What would you do to change it?
Well, you're hearing it from some of the residents. Yes, they feel that there's a lot of talk out there with groups, different groups saying that council is working for the staff instead of for the residents. But I tell you, there is quite a few of us that are out there working for the people. When I say that, we go out there, we're involved in our communities, we listen to them, we talk to them, we take their opinions, we get calls from them. If somebody tell me to come and see them, I do get up and I try to make every time somebody calls me to come see them, I try to make it to them. We do need to change that a little bit because of the fact that as a council, we're supposed to be a council that's supposed to be letting our city manager, the city manager runs the city, but we are supposed to be letting him know, requesting things of him to have done throughout the city. And that's what it's supposed to be done. As a council ran city, council ran city, the council should run the city, but the city manager is the one that is in charge of taking care of all the departments. Now, yes, we give him directions and he follows the directions we give him.
Okay.
That's what should be done.
Are you done? Let's leave the mic with you. Tony, why do you think you will be an effective member of this council? What makes you effective?
I believe that my experience, I've got 12 years experience on the council, 2 years on planning zoning, I got 14 years with the city. I believe in getting out there, talking with the people, finding out what they want. Not that we can always do everything that everybody wants, because of the fact that with the economy the way it's been, we can't, just pop something up and make it happen overnight. And one person can't do it, it takes 4 of us to do it. Council has to work together as a group. I think that over the past year, I've gotten quite humbled. And I've learned a lot with my sickness on what reality is and what's not. I've come out quite strong this time, and I feel that we have to be fiscally responsible to the people of this community. We have to listen to them. And we're talking about the kids. We're talking about from kids. And, I've always ran on the kids for years. And I've been involved with the kids for years. The families and our seniors. It's so important that we don't forget anybody within that loop. Because if you leave one out, you're missing the whole circle. You break the circle. You don't want to break the circle. So I think that if I get reelected, which I'm hoping I do, I'm going to be really focused on trying to make this council, or asking this council, let's work together and agree to disagree. But let's move forward and make the city a city that we want that it should be, and not have the fighting and stuff that we have going on.
Okay, thank you. Yes, let's pass, just pass it to your left. Well, we'll get back to one of the basic questions here. Is the city of Benson anti-business? That perception is there, how do you change it?
Jeff, the perception is there, and that's because there's a lot of people that want to, like I said, they do want that free ride. That's what I was talking about earlier. And Benson needs to be just the same as the big town and the little town and everything in between. If all of the cities of Arizona got together and said, okay, we're all going to adopt one code and everybody's going to do it exactly the same, that would be idealistic. But it's not that way. And so Benson being a small town, people think that there's going to be changes. There's going to be something that they can get by with. And that's not what needs to happen. Everybody needs to be on the same playing field. Everybody needs the same regulations, and everybody has to live with the same codes, whether they're a big business like Lowe's or Walmart or anybody else, or if they come into town and they're a small mom and pop store that wants to open up. And so it's not a chain, we're not a chain place for these places that want to come into town. We are the city of Benson, and everybody has the same playing field. But yes, I agree that the perception is there that we're not working with people, and that's because I don't think they want to work with us.
Okay, let's pass it to your left. Peter, industry. What industry, if any, and should that be the only focus of economic development?
No, as I said, industry is certainly one of it. It gives you some high salary technology type of stuff. And again, I would like to push the tourism stuff too, because it brings people in. We do have a perception of not being business friendly, but I'll tell you, it's a lot better than Tucson. I was dealing there with looking at a new building for a facility, and the people I was talking to that were building there were having I won't use the word, a heck of a time getting stuff done. LED Electronics, all they wanted was a steel building to sell their electronics wholesale out of. 2.5 years to get it built because of permitting. They had to have landscaping done. Another building was twice as much as down here because he had to have a 10-foot square area landscape professionally for $3,500, which was 1 3-foot tree and a couple of bushels. He had to have a dumpster before he could hook electricity up. He had to have a moat to collect water. At the same time, the health department says don't have collecting water because you have mosquitoes. They had to have a bicycle rack outside. Then inside, in the area where they eat, they had to have a locker to lock up a bicycle. All of this stuff had to be done in order to put up a building there. Benson is definitely not that. I don't like to see us going in that direction.
Okay, very good, thank you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and leave it with you real quick.
Uh-oh.
All right? Since we didn't give you a chance to address this question, and everyone else has, what about you? Does the council appear to work just for the administration and not for the citizens? Is that a valid perception? What will you do to change it?
No, I think there, at least from what I've seen, there seems to be some factions on the council. Sometimes they tend to go along with the city employees a little more. In Riggins' rules here, as I see Mr. Lambert has, says do not take staff recommendations lightly. That was one of the parts I did have an issue with, that I think the city council is there not to follow the recommendations of the people that work for the city, but act as a go-between the citizens and the city. The city is a bureaucracy. All bureaucracies behave very similarly. They try to grow and reproduce themselves, like I said before. They tend to have a single mindset. You want people on the council that have a different mindset than the people that work at the city. You need to expect that so that you have more than one idea going forward.
Okay, let's pass it to your left. Jeff, what about you? On the idea of business issues, permitting, economic development, are those the most serious issues facing the city, or do you see others? What are they?
Wow, I don't know if I know how it is. I know what I hear. I know I hear people saying, oh yeah, permitting is the worst thing in the city. Others are, zoning is the worst thing. Others are, enforcement is the worst thing. I don't know what the worst thing is. All I know are there's some people that have complaints and they're very vocal, and their complaints need to be looked into. And we're apparently doing that tonight, and I don't think we're getting to the bottom of it yet, so The way I started, I don't know. I'm going to finish it with, I don't know. Thank you.
All right. Let's bring it all the way down here and start with Tony again. Your first priority, if reelected.
Well, first priority is always to keep a balanced budget. Being fiscally responsible to your community. That is the very first priority. Second priority is try to fix these codes that we're trying to fix. Third priority is, well, actually, our residents is truly our first priority. Anything we do is going to affect not only the residents of Benson, but it's affecting people that surround us. So that's our most important priorities. When we make our decisions, we have to make sure when we make these decisions that we go in there and we make it and we see, we don't do it because of the pressure from inside or outside. We do it because of the fact that we want what's right for the community. The other part of that is we need to admit that we're wrong. When we're wrong, we'll go back and fix something that was wrong. That's something that we've done. We've been able to do somewhat through the last few years to fix some of the past, and, bring some of the past back and fix it. But I'm really concerned with, again, families, the teens, the kids, the families, and our elderly, the exiting of our kids. The same as David there. I'll have to tell him. The exiting of our kids is very, very, very bad. I think economic development is one of the top priorities also. Our airport's the top priority, especially with the UAVs possibly coming in. We can get that. I'm trying to work with a group that's outside of, something to stop, so.
You've got 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm trying to work with a group that's been going across the border.
Okay, Tony, we're going to have to stop there. We're right there, okay? Let's pass it on down to Peter. Peter, we haven't asked you yet about, and Tony did mention it, that's his second priority, the permitting process. Too cumbersome. How are we going to change that?
Well, as I mentioned before, I would suggest producing a concierge that represents the people that are trying to build and work with them to facilitate permitting process through the different departments in the city. Try and streamline it that way. See if there's some way to get all of it in one spot, one-stop shopping, as it were. And again, basically having the advisor working with the contractor to do that.
Okay. Pass it on down to Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, your first priority.
My first priority would be to make effort to to reestablish an identity for Benson. I think without an identity, then we have problems with everything we try to do, whether it's the city code or zoning code or a rezoning, whether it's more subdivision houses or industrial business use. I think without a city identity, then we're going to have problems. What else? What else kind of problem? Or what is the identity of Benson? Is it going to be the one up at I-9 or Highway 90 and I-10? Is it going to be the one, let's see, when I was growing up, we called it the Heights, north of Union? Is it going to be the identity of something like Comstock Edition, San Pedro Edition, or the north side of the tracks as it used to be? Or is it going to be the identity of the north side of the tracks the way it is now? I think if we don't have an identity and we allow such as city and zoning codes to just make us one homogeneous community, then we'll lose the identity that we have in the older part of town that other cities have preserved, like Wilcox and Tombstone and Bisbee and Patagonia.
Okay, we're going to have to stop right there. Just pass it to your right and we'll wrap this one up. Peter, you haven't had a chance to answer this one, so once you do, we'll be done with this question. Your first priority.
Well, what I would like to do is, as Jeff was mentioning, give Benson, discuss with Benson a sense of identity. That's where I thought the tourist destination thing would work. We could coalesce around it. We've done some of that imaging when you go down the street and the landscaping is there. That's all very nice, but then right next to it, all these sandwich board signs. I would like to see the city maybe use some of the sales tax revenues to produce a cohesive sign from like business to business. One idea I had, since one of the themes for Benson is a train, would maybe have a little train sign. And on the part of it would be symbols like restrooms, information, question signs like that. And the other part would list what building or what business is right there. And these could be replacing those sandwich signs. That would give a uniformity to the town as a tourist destination, as I was trying to go, follow further what we have. We have a tourist office right now. I played tourist on President's Day. I drove into town. First thing I saw was a junkyard on the right. At least it's got a wall up there now. We have a nice little fountain. We've got that landscaping, and then there's an area over there, which would be really nice, for like a tourist office big enough to take motorhomes and RVs. One of the things people stop in the town for is clean toilets. They come in, they take care of business, and then they go and take care of other businesses in town. We have a tourist office, like I said, it's on the other side of the street from the businesses, and there's no way to get across there. No crosswalks, nothing. And there's not even a sign saying parking there, and when I went there, on a 3-day holiday, I go there and the place is closed. Sorry about that. With no parking signs and no kiosk outside for brochures. I'm done.
Okay, let's pass it to your right. How are you going to be effective? What makes you effective?
What makes me effective? Effectiveness is being able to get things accomplished smoothly. And working with the council is one of the best ways. I find a lot of my time, I go and I spend it with the staff. And I don't just walk in and say, hi, how you doing, and walk out the other door. I go into each office and I talk to each one of the staff to find out what's going on in this department, how can we improve it, what issues are coming up. And those are the big things that the council needs to be, is to be able to talk to staff more effectively and also be able to talk to the community more effectively. My door is always open. On my city business card, I put my cell phone, so I'm available 24/7. And that's because that's what we're here for. We're here for the people of this community to call us, to ask us, what does Code 7 mean? how's it going to affect my property? Those are the questions that we want to be able to answer. Because if we leave the code the way it is right now, the codes are more strict than the new codes ever will be. If the council right now decides to enforce the current codes without changing them, it's going to make everybody's property rights almost disappear. And that's why we're trying to clean it up. There's a lot of people in the community here that are saying all kinds of stuff, that we're going to foreclose on houses, we're going to come knocking on your door 24 hours a day, and that's not going to happen. So to be effective, we have to look at both sides of all of the property rights, both sides of what the staff recommendations are and why they're recommending these. So to be effective, that's what it is. It's having an open mind and keeping things out in the public.
Okay, pass it down here to Tony. Ladies and gentlemen, we're pretty close to having gone through all the list of questions. In fact, we only have a couple of more that we need to direct to a couple of candidates who haven't been able to answer them. And then we're going to take a break. What do you think, 10 minutes? Shorter? 5 minutes? 10 minutes okay? And then we'll come back and handle the audience questions. So We're just about to the end of this period. Tony, industry. What type of industry should be brought to Benson? And is that the only focus of economic development?
No, it's not the only focus, but industry, I believe that we have a wonderful working rail system out there. I believe that we have with the new shipyard that's been built down in Mexico, I think we should try to bring some businesses up through Mexico, put some warehouses here, get some loading docks built where we can get some of the stuff that's being imported, get it in Benson before we get it sent out. We're the gateway to Cochise County. We know, and the outlet going to Mexico. Let's take advantage. We got the railways. We've got a lot of open space, which means solar. Solar, I think, is very important. I really believe that that's something we need to look at here in our community. I also believe that supporting Roosevelt Mine has been very important. I think it has, because of the fact that I know that that's going to help bring jobs to our community, because of the fact that they've already said that they're going to have a work fair down here once they get the permits done to start hiring out of Benson, which is really nice. That's so important. Airport. The airport could be a gold mine if we do it right. We can get the UAVs in here, so we can get some of that land opened up out there, get the road brought into the airport. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. But we cannot forget about bringing in the smaller business into town too. We've always talked about which way is Benson growing, up or down. Old town, new town. Benson can be just one big town if we do it right. Offer incentives to bring people downtown, try to get people to stay in the downtown area where we can have.
Gonna have to cut you off.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, okay. We have 2 more questions, folks. Let's pass it all the way down here to Peter. Peter, the perception the council works for the administration rather than the citizens. Valid or not, how do you change that?
Well, I think by voting in new people on the council. I think that's it.
Okay, good enough. All right, we have one more question here. Let's pass it down to Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Permitting process, Jeff, how would you change that?
Permitting?
Yes, permitting. It's perceived as being too cumbersome. Have you looked at that issue? How would you change the permitting process? Would you?
I think I already did that.
Well, if you did, I apologize. I've got, I don't have you down for that. Okay, well, you want to, if you did, you can address it again, or you can pass on it.
I'll just recap. I don't know if it's too restrictive or not. I know there are complaints about that, and I've heard those complaints. They come from very vocal people. I think we've delved into some of the permitting process as far as questions with people that are already on the council, and I don't think we're any closer to having an answer as to whether it's really too restrictive or not.
Okay. Folks, let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll start taking the audience questions.